"That's not how we train in America." Those were the words spoken at the National Track Championship in Eugene, Oregon, spoken loud enough to carry. Spoken by Coach David Sterling, who'd been training elite sprinters for 32 years and had never seen anyone approach it the way Kofi Mensah was approaching it. And by month 14, 5 world records would fall. All of them in athletes that Sterling had rejected. Nobody knew yet that the slow man was about to break 5 barriers at once. Rewind to 18 months earlier. Kofi Mensah had arrived in the United States with 2 suitcases and a credential from Ghana. He had trained athletes in Accra for 12 years. He had coached gold medalists at the African Games. He had a degree in exercise physiology and another in biomechanics, both from universities that no one in America had heard of. His English was accented but precise. His methods were precise too. But they were not what American coaches were doing. He found a job at a community track in Philadelphia, $8 an hour. He worked nights at a warehouse and coached after work. His first team was 43 kids. 17 of them had never run competitively before. 24 came from neighborhoods where there wasn't a single track within walking distance. Kofi's training was meticulous, not fast. Meticulous, he spent the first month on what he called foundation building. He had each athlete run a VO2 max test. He recorded their resting heart rates. He measured their leg length, their hip flexibility, their ankle mobility. He didn't let anyone near a sprint for 4 weeks. The other coaches in Philadelphia laughed. They said it was European stuff, too slow, too scientific. American sprinters needed to run, they needed to race, they needed to want it. But Kofi kept going. After the foundation month, he built each athlete's training on what he called their architecture, their unique body blueprint. One girl, Zara, had long legs but inflexible hips. He built her training around hip mobility work and explosive power from the core, not the legs. Another runner, Deshawn, had short legs but incredible calf strength. Kofi built his program around acceleration mechanics that favored his natural architecture. The other coaches said it was too individualized. You had to train them all the same way. But after 3 months, Kofi's team was winning meets. After 6 months, they were breaking high school records in the 400-meter. And people started paying attention. The attention came from David Sterling. He was visiting Philadelphia to scout for his elite academy in New Jersey. He had 17 national champions. His academy was on ESPN. His athletes got full-ride scholarships to Stanford, Duke, Florida State. He was the most powerful track coach in the Northeast. When he showed up, everyone stood up. He came to one of Kofi's training sessions on a Tuesday afternoon. He watched Kofi spend 30 minutes on a single girl's hip flexibility. He watched him measure her stride length with a laser. He watched him adjust her foot strike based on video analysis. And then, Sterling pulled Kofi aside. Sterling said, "That's not how we train in America." Kofi was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "I know. That is why your sprinters always injure their hamstrings in Olympic trials." Sterling's face went red. He said, "I've been doing this for 3 decades. I have more national champions than you've had athletes. You're teaching them to overthink." Kofi said, "No, I am teaching them to respect their body's boundaries before they break them." Sterling left. He didn't come back. But he did something else. At a coaching conference 2 weeks later, Sterling gave a presentation. He spent 20 minutes mocking slow, methodical training. He showed a photo of Kofi's athletes doing mobility drills. He said, "This is what happens when someone from a developing nation tries to apply third world theory to American athletes. They slow down, they lose competitiveness, they lose hunger." The photo was in a coaching magazine. The article made it to social media. Kofi was being called the cautionary tale. American coaches were laughing. But something happened at Kofi's track that week. One of his athletes, a girl named Tasha, won the state championship in the 200-meter. And she beat Sterling's own recruit by half a second. The recruit who was supposed to be a future Olympian. The recruit who'd never been beaten before. Sterling demanded a rematch. Not a real one, a friendly match. His best against Kofi's best. He wanted to prove something. He wanted the world to watch. The date was set for August 3rd. The place was University of Pennsylvania. The event was a 400-meter showdown. Sterling's top sprinter, a boy named Marcus, against Kofi's top student, Deshaun. The crowd was massive. Coaching networks brought people from 5 states. The local news was there. It was personal now. It was about who had the right method. Sterling's approach was all aggression and speed. His training videos showed intense, high-speed work, maximum velocity from day one. His athletes were trained to hurt and to push through it. Kofi's approach was invisible. His secret was not in the race. It was in the 1,000 hours before the race. It was in the architecture. It was in knowing exactly what this specific body could do before asking it to do it. The night before the race, Kofi did something he'd never told anyone about. He sat with Deshaun, just talking. He asked him about his mother, about his dreams, about why he wanted to run. Deshaun said, "I want to be the fastest in the world." Kofi said, "Then we do not run for the world tomorrow. We run for your architecture. We run because your body is designed for something special, and tomorrow we just ask it to show us what that is." They didn't talk about beating Marcus. They didn't talk about Sterling. They talked about Deshaun's body and its potential. The race was broadcast on a small track and field network. People could watch online. 300,000 did. Deshaun won. 44.2 seconds. A state record. Marcus ran 45.8, 0.02 of a second slower than his personal best. But the story wasn't the race. The story was what happened after. Sterling's other athletes started asking Kofi for help. 5 of them. They wanted to train the way Kofi trained. They wanted to understand their architecture. They wanted to know if Sterling's method was the only way. Kofi started a second team. Officially, he was still the assistant coach at the community center, but he was now coaching 49 athletes. Over the next 4 months, his athletes qualified for nationals. 14 of them. By nationals season in Indianapolis, something had shifted in American track. People weren't laughing anymore. The national championship finals were held on June 18th, 700 meters of running over 2 days. Kofi's athletes ran in 12 different events, and they broke 5 American records. 5 in a single competition. Deshaun in the 400, Tasha in the 200. A pair of twins in the 4x4 relay that no one had ever heard of. A girl named Amara in the 800-meter who'd been rejected by Sterling's academy twice. The footage went viral. Overnight, Kofi Mensah was the most talked-about coach in America. Not the flashy one, the slow one, the one who spent a month on hip flexibility. David Sterling watched the video feed from his office. He watched 5 of his rejected athletes break records. He watched coaches from UCLA, Texas, and Oregon all call Kofi for consultations. He watched his own recruiting advantage disappear in 48 hours. What happened next surprised everyone. Sterling called Kofi, not to fight, to listen. They met for 4 hours at a diner in New Jersey. Sterling asked about the architecture model. He asked about the biomechanics. He asked where Kofi had learned it. Kofi told him the truth. He told him about coaching in Ghana, about training athletes in environments where you couldn't afford to break them, where you had to understand their bodies because you didn't have a replacement, where slow was not a weakness. Slow was survival. Sterling said, "I trained like a military commander. I trained like I had unlimited athletes. I've been doing it wrong." 3 weeks later, Sterling restructured his entire academy. He hired Kofi as a consultant. For 1 year, they worked together. Sterling's coaches learned the architecture model. They started measuring and individualizing. They stopped treating athletes like interchangeable units. 1 year later, Sterling's academy produced 3 additional national champions. Their injury rate dropped by 42%, and Sterling retired. He said he didn't want to take credit for what he hadn't learned. He wanted to step back so coaches who understood this method could lead. By 18 months from that first race, Kofi's athletes had broken a total of 11 American records. 14 had received full-ride scholarships to Division I universities, and Kofi had been offered a position as the head track coach at the University of Maryland. But here's what he did instead. He opened a training center in Newark, not for elite athletes, for poor athletes, for kids in neighborhoods where no one had expected them to run. He hired 6 assistant coaches. He spent a year training each one in the architecture model, and he charged families $5 a month. $5 a month. That was the rate. That was the commitment. Not because he was poor, but because he'd been poor, and he remembered what that meant. 23 months after Sterling first laughed at his methods, Kofi's Newark Center had trained 82 young runners. 3 of them had already broken state records. 1 had been recruited by Duke. 1 had been offered a professional contract with an event promoter in Europe. Sterling volunteered at the center every Saturday. He worked with younger athletes. He taught mobility drills. He measured architecture. He'd spent 32 years training like he was in a war. It took 8 months of watching someone else succeed to learn that gentleness and science were not opposites. The girls and boys who trained under Kofi called him teacher, not coach. Teacher, because he taught them to listen to their own bodies before listening to anyone else. Last year, a documentary was made about the architecture model. It aired on a streaming service. In that documentary, Sterling said something that changed how American track coaches think about their sport. "I thought I was building champions. I was just building fast bodies. But I was breaking people." And he was building both at the same time. He was breaking barriers while building people. That's a different skill entirely. The part that stays with me isn't the 5 records. It's the diner, that moment when Sterling could have stayed defensive. But he chose to sit with someone he'd mocked and say, "I want to learn from you." That costs more than any training program. That's rare. That willingness to be wrong and to say it out loud. To watch someone beat you and then ask them to teach you. Most of us don't have that in us. Here's my question for you. If someone proved you wrong about something you've believed for 30 years, would you change? Or would you defend? Drop 1 word in the comments. Honest answer only. Subscribe for next week's story, the nurse's aide whose wrong resuscitation technique saved a politician's life. Now it's standard protocol in 140 hospitals.